I welcome all of you in this Python crash course for beginners. Well, this crash course consists of comprehensive study of Python programming. If you are interested in establishing your career in Python or in data science domain, you can watch the complete video series. This is a fifth part. In case if you have missed the other parts, it is recommended that you watch them first. If you are interested in our industrial programs, you can know more about them. To know more about them, you can click on the link in the description below. So let us start with today's session, and that is file handling. My name is Rajan Chetri. I'm your instructor for this crash course, and I'll be taking you through the various concepts of file handling today. The very first thing that we'll be discussing in today's session is regular expressions. Regular expressions play a vital role when we want to search for a data in a given data set. Now, how we do that and what are the details of regular expressions, we'll see in a while. After that, we'll be studying the file handling concept, which plays a vital role in data science. We'll be going through the various concepts of file handling. Apart from that, we'll do various activities or demonstrations on reading and writing files. And there are a lot of exercises that we'll be covering in both regular expressions and file handling. So let us start with the very first topic here, which is regular expressions. So what is a regular expression basically? So let us start with a story here. There are many times where a programmer, will want to split or search some data, in a data set. So for example, let's say you're looking for any prices within a body of a given text, or basically, let's say if you're looking for a dollar sign, maybe followed by a number, maybe a decimal point, and maybe more numbers. Sometimes there will be a decimal point before any numbers, such as with something under a dollar. Try to think of a way that you would incorporate the very large number of possibilities. It's pretty hard. This is where the regular expressions comes into the picture. Regular expressions are used to shift through text-based data to find things. Regular expressions express a pattern of data that is to be located. Regex is its own language and is basically the same no matter what programming languages you're using with. So regular expressions in simple words can be used to search, edit, or manipulate the text here. This opens a vast variety of applications in all of the subdomains under Python. As I said earlier, regular expression is not limited to Python or is not restricted by Python. Once you learn the patterns in regular expressions, you can apply the same patterns in any other programming languages. In Python, we are provided with a module called re module. So here you can see re. Re stands for regular expressions. So this re module must be imported if you want to use regular expressions in Python. Re is a part of standard library. That means that you don't need to install it by downloading it from a different remote server. So let us start with a demonstration here, and let us try to understand how we can use re module for finding the data, or for searching the data, or for manipulating the text in a demonstration here. For the demonstration purpose, I'll be using the Jupyter notebook here for showing you the demonstrations. Let us start with the demonstrations here. So here I have a notebook with me which demonstrates the various use cases of using the regular expressions here. So here we'll be understanding the very first expression by seeing the patterns here, such as /s plus or /t. So you might be wondering what these symbols are. Basically, /s represents the white spaces and /t represents the tab spaces. Let us look at a demonstration of how we use these symbols for finding the data or for extracting the data. The very first thing that we'll do here is importing the re module. So here, in the very first step, we are importing the re module. To execute this cell, let us click on the run button here. Now here, I'm using a function called compile. Compile is a function to generate an object here which will specify the pattern. Now here /s means the pattern is white spaces. Remember, whenever we'll be using regular expression, we'll have two things. One is the pattern and second is the data. So this is pattern first of all. So the pattern that we'll be looking for in a data will be the white spaces here. Once again, I'm repeating myself. This is not data, this is a pattern. So if I print this, you can see it says /s plus and says Unicode. Now this is the technical representation of this pattern, but we don't need to worry about that. Let's focus on the pattern that is looking for the white spaces. Now the next question is how to split a string separated by the given pattern, that is the spaces. For the demonstration purpose, the data that I have prepared here looks like this. So here I have a string in multiple lines which says that 101 computer, 205 mathematics, 189 ing and English. Now this is a sample data that we'll be working on, and this data is stored in text. Here I will be manipulating this text object via regular expression using this pattern. So let us create this variable here. Alright. Now if we want to compute the data based on a given pattern using regular expressions, there are two ways. So let us look at the various ways of manipulating the data using regular expression. So this is method 1 here. Let us look at this expression. So here it says re.split /s comma text. Now what does it means basically? It means that here there is a function called split which accepts two arguments here. One is the pattern and second is the data. Now this split function will be slicing the data text based on the given pattern. Now what does it means basically? It means that this split function will slice this data wherever it finds the spaces. If we look at the output here, we can observe that this 101 is sliced because there was a space here. Similarly, com is sliced due to this space and followed by the spaces here and so on. So this is the first approach or the first method. Now if you observe in this approach, I'm not using the regular expression object here. I'm simply calling re.split without using this object which represents the pattern. In the method 2, if you observe, I'm using the object which represented the pattern here. So here you can see that I'm calling regex.split. Now you must observe the difference here. Previously, the split function was invoked via re-module, whereas this time the split function is invoked using the regex object. It works the same way. So here we can see the string is splitted via spaces or wherever it finds the spaces. Let us look at some more demonstrations which will make us clear on using the regular expressions. So here in this demonstration we will be finding the pattern matches using find all function. So let me tell you exactly what this find all is. So here we have this text variable and you can see there is some data in it. Let's say we are looking for integers only. So the purpose is to extract numbers from this data. Now the question is that how do we do that? Now in regular expressions, the numbers are represented by a symbol /t here. /t represents numbers. So if I say re.compile/t, that basically means that I'm creating a regular expression object which will be representing the pattern of finding the numbers. So here the object name is regex num. This regex num represents the object, and it says that it is going to look for the integers only because of the pattern specified here, which is again /t for numbers. Here, using this object, I'm calling a function called findAll. FindAll is a function which is used to search for a given pattern, and it returns the data which matches this pattern. So this consists of /t, which means numbers, and it says find all numbers in the text object here. So if we execute the following demonstration, we will see this output. So here it absolutely and correctly matches with the expected outcome, which is finding the numbers. So here, once again, it is find all function. Now we have various other use cases of regular expressions that we can use here. Let us look at some more demonstrations here. So here we are talking about two functions here. One is search versus match. So we have two more functions here that we'll be working on. Let us look at the demonstration and let's try to find out exactly what these functions do basically. So here once again we have this text variable or the text object with the similar data. Let's create this variable one more time here. And here it says regex num dot search. If you remember, this object contains the integer representations or the integer pattern. So what does it mean basically? It is going to look for integers. So here I'm calling the search function. So that means I'm searching for the integers here in this given text. So whatever the output is goes into the S here. So this is an object which will contain the information about the search. Now we will see exactly what information this S object contains. So if I call s.start function here, which is the inbuilt associated function with this object, it returns the index of the the number which starts in the given text, right? So in the given text, if you look at this first number, so it starts at the very first index, that is 0. So this start function returns us the index of the very first integer occurrence in the given text. Similarly, s.end function. S.end function will give us the index of the integer occurrence. So it is 3 here. So I can use the s.start and s.end function to fetch the integer from the given text. And here we have 101. Alternatively, we can use s.group function here to find the first integer. Now we use search function for finding the integers in the given text here. So we have one more function called match here. Match function also returns a match object, but the difference is it requires the pattern to be present at the beginning of the text itself. So here, if I use the match function with the text here, and if we print the match, you can see here it's pretty easy for us, to find the details here. So here we can see that the number matches, and the very first number which is at the beginning is 101. Here we are able to see the span as well, which basically the one and the same thing which the start and end function did, which means returning the indexes. So I hope this gives you a basic understanding of how we use regular expressions in Python and the various operations that we can perform with it. Let us start with our new topic, and that is reading and writing files. Now, reading and writing files is an important aspect of Python programming or any other programming because it gives you the ability to save your data permanently. In order to understand why we need file handling or why we need files, let us understand in an other way or the alternate way. Now, if you remember, we use variables for storing the data, variables like int, long, short, float, double. But in any programming languages, when you use variables for storing the data, whether it is input or output, the nature of existence or the persistence nature of these variables is temporary. What does it mean basically? It means that once we create variables, they only exist within their scope, or in simple words, if you close your application, the variables will be released or removed from the memory. This basically leads to the temporary data. So in real world, we require the data to be saved permanently to be used in future or for future references. And that's where files comes into the picture. Now, file is a solution for saving the data permanently. If you learn that how to create a file and how to write the data in a file via Python programming, and if you learn how to read the data from a file, in both the ways you'll be able to save the data permanently in your system as well as you can refer to it as and when required. So I hope this clears the purpose and the concept of why file handling is important for all of us. Now let us talk about the types of files here. We have two types of files with us. One is the text files, second is the binary files. Now what exactly is a text file basically? A text file is a plain file which consists of only alphabets, numbers or symbols. It does not contain any binary data. So this takes us to the binary files. Binary files are those files which are non-text files. For example, your audios, videos, images, all these are binary files. In this session, we'll be working on text files. So let us proceed further. Before we work on text files, let us try to understand what are modes in file handling. Now, these are the popular file modes, or you can say the major file modes we have available in Python. Now, you might be wondering what is a file mode? So let me tell you. Whenever we do programming in Python and we want to work with the files, the Python interpreter or the Python engine doesn't know exactly what needs to be done with the file or what is the intention of a developer. To make the interpreter aware of the developer's intention of the purpose of working with the file, we use file modes. So let me give you an idea here. So for example, the very first mode is R mode. If I specify R while doing the programming for file handling, the interpreter knows that the programmer wants to read a file. Similarly, if I specify the R plus mode in the coding while doing the file handling, the interpreter is understood that the programmer wants to do both reading and writing. Similarly, we have W mode for writing, W plus mode once again for writing. But there is a difference here, right? So what is the difference here? W mode opens the file for writing. For existing file, the data is truncated and overwritten. But for the W plus mode opens the file for reading and writing. So you can see here there is a difference, and the difference is of reading. For existing file, the data is truncated and overwritten, the similar behavior as of W. Then we have A mode here. A is for append mode. Now what does append mode means? In append mode, in order to understand the append mode, basically like the previous modes are overwriting the data every time. So every time when we are working on the file, the previous data is getting overwritten. But for the A mode, append mode, the file will not be the data in the file will not be overwritten. That is the basic difference. Then similarly we have A plus mode. So what is A plus mode? Basically it is once again append mode, but it says that opens the file for reading and writing. You can see here this is the major difference. So append opens the file for writing only, whereas A plus mode opens the file for reading and writing both. So here, in simple words, as a conclusion or as a summary, what are file modes? File modes are basically, you can say, the way of conveying your intention to the interpreter about what needs to be done with a file. Let us look at some of the demonstrations here on doing reading and writing here. So let us start. Let us start with the file handling demonstration here. So here I'm using the again Jupyter notebook for the demonstration in Python. The very first demonstration that we'll be doing here is opening the file. So here I have some data with me already that I'll be showing you. So here for opening the file, I'm going to use the open function. Open function is for opening a file. You need to provide a file path here that you want to open. Generally, it is a good idea to use or work with CSV files. CSV stands for comma separated values. Now this is basically the structured data and is easily available over the internet. Pokemon.csv is also a very popular data and it is also available over the internet. You can visit some websites like kaggle.com for finding the similar data. Now here I'm using the open function which will be opening the file here, and here we need to specify the mode basically. Now what does mode means? Mode means what we want to do with this file. So let's say we want to read this file, so we'll write R here. R is for reading the file. But here is a twist here. If you do not specify any file mode, then the default file mode is read. But as we are doing it for the first time at the beginner's level, for the better understanding, we'll write R here. Now on the very left side, we'll create an object here called, let's say, my file. So this my file is nothing but an object. The name of this object can be anything. So what does this object means basically? This object means that this object is referring to this particular file. So if I say, let's say print my file dot name, you can see here it prints the name of the file. Similarly, if I say print my file dot mode, it prints the file mode. Remember guys, here I'm using a shortcut for short key for executing the cell, and that is shift plus enter. Now there are various things that we can do with the file. So let us start with the very first demonstration on reading the file. How do we read the data from the file? Alright, so here for reading the file, I'm going to use a function called read. Read is for reading the file. So whatever the content will be returned from this file will be stored in this particular object here. In order to understand exactly how this read function functions, so let us print the content here. So you might be wondering exactly what this is. Well, basically this is the data which is coming from this particular file. So if you want to understand exactly what this read function do, it returns the complete content of the file. So whatever the contents are there in the file, it will return everything. You can see here, I've got everything. Remember that I'm using a data which was already there with me. You can use any file here, make sure that the file must be a text file. For easy understanding, you can use a txt file or a notepad file. Let us try some more demonstrations here on file reading. So if I use the same function here, and if I specify, let's say 5 here, so okay, so it is not printing anything. Okay, what's the reason here? The reason is that when we read the file for the first time, the cursor, actually there is something called cursor here, it was shifted from beginning position to the end position. Now we'll resolve this issue. So we will close the file here. This is the easier approach, and we will open the file once again. And this time we will call myfile.read and 5. For the easy understanding, here I'm not using the extra object here, so we'll simply print it. You can see here it says Pokemon. What is this basically? it returns the number of characters from the file using the read function. Now here I'm using a read function which returns the number of characters which were specified here. So let us close the file once again. Okay, all right. Now let us try one more demonstration here on reading, which is very important, is reading the content of the file. And for this, I'm going to okay, file data equals to my file dot read lines. You can see here that there's a different function here this time, and we'll close the file. And if I show you file data here, so you can see that this time the readLine function returned the content of the file in this object in the form of a list. So if I show you the type here, this is a list here. So if we use readLine function for retrieving the content of the file in the form of a list, then it becomes pretty easy for us to work with the data. For example, if I want to print, let's say, first 5 Pokemons, I can do this way. Because this is in the form of a list, I can use all the expressions of a list easily, isn't it? If I want to find the last Pokemon, I can simply say -1, right? So this is the approach of reading the file, and further you can do various operations on that data which is retrieved from the file. All right. So here I'll be showing you one more approach of reading the file here, and this is pretty easy actually. And this is for line in my file, print line. Now here I'm iterating through the object of my file. Now this is the easier approach if you want to do the line by line read. Line by line read. Now if I show you the output here, you can see that I'm getting all the values of my file, but this time this data that I'm getting here, right, is getting fetched line by line. Means it's not getting fetched all at once, it is line by line. So I can do various operations on this data. For example, let's say if I want to extract only the name. So you can see here, I'm using the split function, separating each line by comma, right? The words in each line by comma, and accessing the first index. Similarly, I can access the type of the Pokemon here. Look at that, all right? So we can do various operations on the data using, the concepts of Python, such as string slicing, looping, and file reading. So that was the very first, you can say, approach of file handling, and that is reading the file. With that, let us proceed further and let us try to understand how to write the data in the file. For writing the data in the file, we'll create a new file here. All right. So this time, once again, I'll use the same object here. I think I need to close the object first of all. All right. So we must release the file actually by calling the close function. So let's reinitialize it. My file equals to open, and this time I'm going to use a different new file here. So let's say in D drive in the upGrad directory, I want to create a file called rhyme.txt. And the mode that I'm using here is the write mode, which is for writing the data in the file. Now let us call the write function. Now write function is for writing the data inside the file. Now here in the write function, you need to pass what data you want to add into the file. So let's say I want to add I am the earth, and this for line break here. My file dot write I am the four winds blowing, and we'll do the line break here. My file dot write I am the forest green. We'll do again a line break here, and finally dot write I am the earth. Now here you can see that I'm using the write function for adding the data in the file. Once the write operation is complete, we will simply close the file and we'll print a message here, file saved successfully. So let us execute this this code by pressing Shift Enter. It says file saved successfully. Now, in order to confirm whether the file is created and the data is saved, we'll go to the same location here. So here we can see that we have in this D drive in the upGrad directory, we can see this rhyme file. If we open this file, we can see the data here. So it is the same data that we inserted in using the write function. Now let's close it. Now we will do an experiment here, and in this experiment we will see that if we write the new data in the same file this time, my file dot write, and this is, let's say this is new data. So let's say the experiment is if we write something new in the same file. So will it overwrite the data in the previous in the same file, or it will be added along with the existing content? So I'll just execute this. It says file saved successfully. To check, to confirm, we'll go back to the directory here. We'll double click and we can see here. The result is that if we try to write something new, it overwrites the existing data, which means that we will lose the data. Now, what is the solution here for this, right? So the problem is that we are losing the data, all the old data every time we are writing the new content. The solution to this problem is changing the mode basically. So if I change the mode here from W to A, which is for the append mode, and if I execute this cell this time once again, so here I'm executing. So we will check exactly what has happened with the file data. So we'll come back here, we'll double click on it, and here we can see that this is the old data that was there previously, and now this is the new data which is appended at the end of the file. So this is the right solution if we want to preserve old data as well as we want to add the new data in the file. So this is the right mode to be worked on, and which is the append mode. All right. Let us try to combine both the operations of reading and writing the file using a demonstration here. So what we'll do here basically, we will read the data this time, but this time we'll not read the data from the file, but this time we'll read the data from the user. And whatever the data user will be, providing to us, based on that, we'll generate an output and we'll save that output in the file. So here we will generate a table generator. So basically we are writing a program for generating the tables here, and here I'll be asking the name of the file from the user, and I'll be asking a number for which the user wants to generate the file, the table, sorry. All right, so we'll just print it here, enter the name of the file. So file name, so you can see here, so here I'm asking the user to enter a file name where he wants to save the file name. Now because I want to save the file name in the D drive upgrad directory, so I'll just update it with the D drive upgrad and plus file name. So here I have updated the file name with the fixed location here, and apart from that I'll just add the txt extension for the convenience. Alright, so that is for convenience. Then ask the user to enter a number. Like this will be the number which will be used for generating the table. So here tbl equals to integer input, enter the number. So here I'm asking the user for the number here. Whatever the number user will be, entering here will be converted into integer and will be saved in tbl. Now here it says print generating the table of tbl, okay, saving the data in file name. So here you can see that it says that generating the table of tbl and saving the data in file name. Before we generate the table or the file, let's execute this section and let's see if it is working properly. So it says enter the name of the file. So I'll just write it table of 5. It says enter the number. I say 5 here. So it says that generating the table of 5, saving the data in D drive upgrad table of 5.txt. So you can see here it is same as this one. So till now it is working absolutely fine here, and we will write further code for generating the table. First of all, we'll create a loop here for I in range 1, 11. So if I print I, you can see here table of 5, 5. You can see here it is printing the numbers from 1 to 10. Now how I'll be using this sequence? I'll be using this sequence for generating the table. So look at the logic here. It says table into I equals to table into I. Let me show you once again. Enter the name of the file. It says table of 5. If I say enter the number, it is 5. And it says generating the table of 5, saving the data in D drive upgrad table of 5.txt. If you look at this expression here, it is absolutely as expected. 5 into 1 equals to 5, and 5 into 10 equals to 50. Now, as of now, this data is not saved, and it is just getting printed. So here, I'll be using, before we generate the table, let's create the file. Let's create the file here. So we'll be using the same function open. We'll pass file name here, and the mode that I'm using here is W. And this is my file object. Now I'll be using this object for writing the data in the file, in this file. So we will simply copy this and paste it here, and instead of print, we'll write file.write. And because we are writing it in a file, so we'll add /n here. So a table of 9. So it says enter the number, and it is 9 here. Oops, we are getting an exception here. So exceptions are also important here, means these are runtime errors. They help us in understanding exactly how to, like what are the various errors we can see, and how to resolve them. So basically, this error is occurring because in the write function, we are supposed to pass only one argument. But here you can see there are 6 arguments there. So what we'll do here basically, we have to format this expression basically, into the string format. So I'm doing this here. So okay, so the data is, let's say, of, okay, dot format tbl I tbl into I. So basically, this I'm using a dot format function here, everyone. So dot format will replace all the curly brackets with the corresponding arguments here. So it is going to be 5, which is table, let's say, into I, which is 1, 5 into 1, let's say, equals to 5 into 5, this one. So we'll pass data here, this one. Let's execute now. Table of 9, let's say 9, and it says generating the table of 9, saving the data in D drive upgrad table of 9.txt, and here we have this data which is getting printed, and we will verify the file here. So you can see here it says table of 9. If I open this file, we have this data with us, but there is a trouble here, and that it is in the same line. To solve this, we will add slash n here, which is for line break. Let's do it one more time. 9, and let's go back here, and here it is. It's neat and clean and is as expected. So I hope you have understood the demonstration on how we can use file handling for creating the file and writing the data, and we can save the data permanently, which we can use further for future references. So I hope you have liked the explanation of the subject here. If you have liked it, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit the bell icon. Thank you very much, guys. Happy learning.
To know more, follow and subscribe to upGrad.